Welcome to the DC Life Uncensored, presented by the place to get the best fight gear, the Fight Shop New Mexico, your place for security and investigations needs in New Mexico, international strategic partners, and the place to get the best mouth guards in the fight game or for youth athletics. We're talking about damage control mouth guards, DC mouth guards. This is, again, the DC Life Uncensored. I am Mika Frankel of CageMinds.com. Cage Minds Combat Sports News on Facebook, Cage Minds MMA on your Twitter and your Instagram, Cage Minds MMA Show on YouTube, where you can find a ton of great interviews. This show will be there and on SoundCloud, and again presented on CagedMinds.com. Now, this weekend we had a whole ton of MMA. I know that there was a boxing rivalry, but there was 4 MMA fights. We got a lot to talk about, starting off with Friday night. Invicta FC 20. Yes, it's been 20 events so far. We have your full results, again, up at CageMinds.com to go check those out. And for all the fights that we're going to be talking about and articles, you can go to CageMinds.com to keep up with all that fight news and information. Now, let's start with those top 4 fights, really the main card for Invicta FC 20. Ashley Yoder, she can hit you with an armbar. I believe this is the 4th out of 5 wins, and she's able to do it to Amber Brown, catching her in the transition and twisting her arm in a different direction. Brown tried to spin out, tried to get away, got her wrist turned the wrong way, got caught on her back, and eventually had to tap. This is a second loss in a row, but a first time at 115, so I think there are lessons to be learned when you're moving up, changing a weight class. Amber Brown back to, the gym, back to revamping what she does, and I believe we'll see her taking a step forward after this one. Now, someone that had to end a losing streak and did so was Herika Tiburcio, beating up Simona Sakapova, beating her to the punch, winning 2 out of the 3 rounds, hitting timely takedowns. I mean, the Brazilian found her groove, found her swagger, takes a unanimous decision win. Now, in our co-main event, Angela Hill defending that Invicta FC strawweight title against Kaylene Medeiros. You saw Hill, the better footwork was the domination of the fight, being able to, even when she was taken down, popping right back up and stuffing most of the takedowns. A dangerous striker with great footwork, who you cannot give that much space to. I mean, and the judges really were kind of all over the place. It was a unanimous decision for Angela Hill, but we had 5 rounds to none, 4 rounds to 1, and 3 rounds to 2. But still, the champ retains. Angela Hill was not able to demonstrate the power because Medeiros is just that tough, but did demonstrate more improvements. Her takedown defense, her ability to spring back up, her ability to put together combinations, use her leg kicks, a dangerous revamped fighter who's making her way, and a run with this title that could be worthy of getting a call up to the UFC once again. Angela over at Hill with the big win. And then in the shocker of the weekend, really, I gotta say, Yana Kuntasea was able to, after being taken down and put on her back, catch an armbar and submit Tanya Evinger to become the new Invicta FC Bantamweight champion. Now, this fight is not without its controversy and could possibly see an immediate rematch, as Kuntasea had Evinger in an armbar, and Evinger stands up trying to shake her off. She goes to place her foot on the face of Kuntasea and is trying to use that pressure of pushing the opponent down to yank her arm out of the armbar, and the ref calls out to her that you cannot do that. You cannot kick the opponent or something. It was something to where Evinger changes her position, lets go of that, and gave Kuntasea the ability to also change her position and resync up, lock in, and finish off the armbar. So Evinger and her camp said they're going to petition for the tape to be reviewed, to be known, to have it more explained to them why they were warned for something that was not illegal. Other refs and other people have been asked about this situation. There was nothing illegal about the way she was trying to defend the armbar. So in a sticky situation, the 10-fight undefeated streak of Tanya Evinger wins. A huge upset, but a possibility for an immediate rematch. Now that was how you ended off Friday night. Also, with that Invicta event, though, Friday night, there was an announcement, forgot to mention this real quick, that the first Invicta event of 2017 will be on January 14th, again back in Kansas City, Missouri. The first official bout that I believe is going to be the main event is a featherweight #1 contenders bout that's going to see from a 3-fight win streak, Charmaine Not So Sweet Tweet against Megan Anderson. So you have the 26-year-old Australian versus the 39-year-old Canadian. Both women have won most of their recent bouts via the TKO. And Tweet, though, does have the majority of her stoppage victories by submission, but has been putting her power and her striking to use as of late. So Invicta in January with the next challenger for Cyborg. Things could get interesting in that fight. And then, do you really want to win that one to be the next person to face Cyborg when she gets to have an easier weight cut, even though it's not that easy for her ever? But again, that was Friday. So now we go to Saturday, where it was UFC Bellator, a UFC bonanza with a Bellator head-to-head matchup in there. The best fight of the weekend was Bellator, but the first fight of Saturday, the UFC was in Belfast, Ireland. And I mean, several prospects came to life in this fight. And just the ability right now to say, wow, look at these prospects and see how they're grooming these young guys and thinking about the talent that's coming up the ranks. Abdul Razak Al-Hassan finishing off Charlie Ward in 53 seconds of the first round. Never been past 90 seconds. All knockouts. Abdul Al-Hassan is a very dangerous technical striker with a lot of explosive ability and power. Brent Johns is a judo grinding, pikey workhorse. These are guys that got it done early on in the prelims. In the heavyweight division, Justin Ledet, he'd rather be boxing, but he's a boxer with slick jiu-jitsu. Hit Mark Godbeer a couple times, hurt him, took him down, took the back, got the rear naked choke. Very impressive stuff there. ABC, Amanda Bobby Cooper, some striking, some wrestling, a whole diverse game for the tough finalists, getting the win over Anna Elmos. Kevin Lee wants to say he's the best wrestler at 155 pounds. He was able to grind out, survive the strikes of Magomed Mustafayev, take the back, get the choke, and choke Mustafayev out. I mean, no tap in that man. A tough dude from Dagestan, but it was Lee in a dominant performance. Koichi Haraguchi, an underrated fighter, unheralded in this fight, but his takedown defense, his ability to grind in the clinch is getting better, and the karate striker still has ultra-fast ability to strike, movement, a technical karate base. I know that Demetrius Johnson beat him up for 5 rounds in their first meeting, but Haraguchi's on a 3-fight win streak, has moved from Japan to American Top Team in South Florida, and he could be a legitimate challenger, as Demetrius Johnson again is looking for one. Koji Haraguchi, a very great win. Artem Levon is the Miracle Child of Ireland, 13-12 now, the best 500 fighter ever, putting the pressure on and tiring out Toronto Ishihara. Lahalum in the essence of his teammate Conor McGregor, that big wide stance, coming forward, covering distance, putting pressure on, was able to outwork his opponent for most of the 3 rounds. Ishihara was looking for a big shot, a big knockout, but the counterpuncher cannot find the answer. Alexander Volkov, the former Bellator heavyweight champion, made his debut, and for my money, did a beautiful job of outgrinding a grinder, getting space when he needed it, landing big devastating shots, controlling the fight at distance. It was scored a split decision. Thought Volkov took it easily in a big win in a debut. A changing in the guard for European lightweights as Stephen Ray takes a decision from Ross Pearson. He used the game of leg kicks, distance, and frustrated the brawler Pearson, who was not able to land a very hard shot to the head. He landed some really hard right hooks to the body. Couldn't find anything worth putting Ray down. Pearson now a 3-fight losing streak. The main event, Gegard Mousasi finds his revenge. takes down, beats up, and relentlessly pounds on Uriah Hall, getting the TKO victory at 4:37 of the first round. Gegard Mousasi says he wants the fight that gets him to the title. Well, seeing as Michael Bisping and Yoel Romero seem to be the direction that the UFC is heading for their next middleweight title, as Bisping's next title defense will be Romero. Jacare Sosa was supposed to fight Rockhold. Rockhold gets injured. I'd say that looks pretty good. Mousasi gets a quick win. Jacare Mousasi, let's make it as quick as we can. That is a big fight that I'd be very interested in. The only other thought on that could possibly be the winner of Derek Brunson versus Robert Whittaker, but seeing as Jacare needs a fight and he just had a camp and Mousasi just had a quick fight, that's what makes the most sense to me. So as we transition from Belfast, Ireland for UFC Fight Night 99, we go down to Sao Paulo, Brazil for UFC Fight Night 100. Not as big a deal as UFC 100, UFC 200, UFC 205. It's just a fight night, but it's UFC Fight Night 100. Pedro Munoz has a nasty guillotine, and Justin Scoggins can look like $1 million until he hits an unnecessary takedown or slips and gets into a transition with a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt sniper with a vicious guillotine. Pedro Munoz still working on his striking, but that Hail Mary of jumping on the guillotine worked in the second round after getting kicked and punched at range. Big win for the former RFA champion. Luis Henrique and Christian Colombo, you had the wrestler, grappler from Brazil versus a tall, lean Dutch kickboxer, and it was the wrestler getting the grind on, and he's from Brazil. He has jiu-jitsu. He jumps on a front choke and gets the guillotine in the third round after 2 rounds of dominating and landing elbows, cutting up, beating up Christian Colombo. 10-2 heavyweight Luis Henrique from Brazil, a very interesting prospect in the heavyweight division. Johnny Eduardo does not fight that often, but when he does, it is exciting. A left hand, 36 seconds into the second round, or about 20 seconds into the second round, puts down Manny Gambirian. From there, Eduardo gets on top. He lands some big heavy punches. The ref jumps in. Following the loss, Manny Gambirian announces his retirement. He had done this fight leaving Glendale Fight Team in California and training with the Black Zillions. He was a Tough 5 alum. I remember him taking on Jose Aldo in the WEC for the featherweight title. He's been a very fun, entertaining fighter to watch. Best wishes to Manny Gambirian in his future endeavors. We also saw in the prelims that if Cesar Ferreira can stay calm and stay control, he's very devastating to stick to the basics. And after wearing on an opponent like he did to Jack Hermanson with his left hand, have that left hand, the powerful shot. You're a southpaw. That straight left is a killer. You are a big boy. Keep it cocked, keep it ready, keep firing. It's what he did. And then when he tired his opponent, he takes Hermanson to the ground, shows off the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, gets the arm triangle. No one will ever say that Sergio Moraes, who kicked off the fight, the main card at FS1, is a dazzling, beautiful striker, but he can strike, he can hit you with awkward punches out of crazy angles, and in Brazil he is very hard to beat with his mix of awkward punches leading the scrambles and getting good positions with his jiu-jitsu. Moraes continues a win streak, getting another victory, 11-2-1 for him on the split decision. Kamaru Usman outgrinds, beats up, shows off some new facets of his striking. A very interesting prospect who called out Damian Maia. Don't know if Damian Maia is acknowledging a guy that doesn't have a number by his name and is so far down on the rankings, but Usman, a 4-fight win streak, making some noise, showing off new facets of his game, and getting the win over Warley Alves. Talk about showing off new facets of his game. If you had Krzysztof Jotko grinding out Talis Latis, I think you're a psychic, because nobody saw the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt getting taken to the ground, controlled, and beat up when they were there. Krzysztof Jotko, the Polish middleweight, who is now also like Joanna Jędrzejczyk and like Koji Haraguchi, training at American Top Team under former WEC champion Mike Brown. More prospects, amazing stuff coming in from around the world, and then going to South Florida to get their work in. But Jotko, the biggest win of his career, taking out the number 11 ranked former title challenger, Talis latest, who, do you guys remember that it seemed like he took a decision from Michael Bisping not too long ago? Seems like eons ago instead of maybe a year and a half ago. Claudia Gadelha showed off new facets to her striking, her wrestling, and of course controlled the ground game. And even though it looked to be one kick to a downed opponent to the head, where Tyrone Woodley said it looked like a kick to the ponytail, no matter how that went, Claudia Gadelha dominates Courtney Casey for 3 rounds. Courtney Casey is a gained opponent, but again, a not experienced enough veteran, with this being her 10th fight, to take on the 16-fight vet who has been in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and grappling for just forever. Gadelha getting the win, now repping the Latrell Yee MMA and Fitness. Love those guys down there, as it's one of our local gyms here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, getting well-deserved spotlight. Claudia Gadelha looked great. Look to see more improvements as they get more working together. In the co-main event, Albert Morales said he would stand and trade with Thomas Almeida, and he did, and he suffered, and he got caught with an uppercut. He got caught with a lot of uppercuts. Very dangerous punch from Almeida, who found his groove again being at home. The finishing flurry got started off as it was a right overhand, a big right that went over the guard of Morales. Almeida then fires and comes back with a left hook and a body shot that finishes the fight and drops Morales after a barrage of hooks. Almeida, even though he lost to Garbrandt, he got caught by a very powerful fighter. Almeida is still an exciting young bantamweight prospect. Ryan Bader in the main event takes down, beats up, and beats Nogueira, Little Nog, in every facet of the game. In a, I believe it was 7-year career, they were saying. First time that Nogueira was fighting twice in a year since he had signed with the UFC, and age showed in this one. He was not as fast. He kept himself with great technique out of a lot of submissions on the ground as Bader was trying to get the chokes. But Bader was the swifter, much more fluent fighter on the ground, was much faster to every transition, every scramble, and a bludgeoning beating, with Ryan Bader getting another big win. And quite possibly, depending on what happens with John Jones, depending on what happens at UFC 206, DC and Johnson here very soon, Bader may have positioned himself to be the number 1 contender. If DC gets that victory, they were supposed to fight a while ago. They have it now. It would line up that could be a formula with this victory for Ryan Bader to get a world title opportunity. Now from Sao Paulo, at the same time, trying to multitask is all everything. At the SAP Center in San Jose, California, it was Bellator 165 was going on, with a prelim card that started off the night that saw Carrington Banks, one of our guests from last week, score a unanimous decision victory over Jake Roberts. It was a dominant performance, I thought. 30-27 across the board, showing off new facets of his striking game, putting together combinations, landing kicks, using that athleticism, transitioning to his takedowns, and then having the top pressure to not get swept, not get stuck in submission. Carrington Banks with a big win. Sarah DeLelio, the former Invicta FC fighter, former Strikeforce fighter, submission by armbar also on the prelims, taking us up to a main card that saw Linton Vassell take the back and dominate the grappling against Francis Carmont for 3 rounds. I didn't think Carmont was going to be big enough or strong enough to handle Vassell on the ground. Vassell, even though he was desperate to do so, could not find the finish. Big congratulations to him, though, on the victory. Carrie-Ann Melendez, even though we've seen her many times now in the kickboxing ring on Spike TV, made her Bellator MMA debut, and it only lasted 47 seconds. A left, right, the right cracks Sheila Padilla right across the nose, and it is a knockout. Carrie-Ann Melendez, the hype on her, everything justified so far. A kickboxer that came out, implemented her game plan, didn't get taken down by the grappler, and made an explosive debut. In the lightweight division, Adam Piccolotti relied on a kicking game to keep away Brandon Gertz for the first and second round. Gertz went balls out in the third round, looking for the knockout, making it aggressive. Too little, too late. Adam Piccolotti goes from prospect to possible contender now inside of that Bellator lightweight division. But with Bellator, nothing is as it seems. I believe at 9-0, Piccolotti's probably calling his shot a little early. There's a Derek Anderson and a Josh Thompson that are probably ahead of him as I see the division. The co-main event, Michael MVP Page is still undefeated, but it was the worst fight I've ever seen. Him and Gonzalez were tentative. Gonzalez needed to be up in his face, bringing the brawl. They were both just kind of stalemating. It was kind of Damian Maia, Anderson Silva-esque. You do something, you do something, you do something. Nobody did anything until the third round, which was a big round for Gonzalez when he was able to get on the inside, was able to put the pressure on. Page landed a couple more shots in the first and the second, picking and, tick for tacking on the outside, taking a win. This doesn't help his fame. This doesn't help his magnanimous growth. And if you're Douglas Lima, you're really hoping that Rory McDonald wants the fight. Because right now, I don't know if Page versus Lima, two counter-strikers, if that becomes entertaining at all. Also adding that into the mix, Rory McDonald, who also just pumps a jab. This could get very interesting or disappointing, depending on how these fights actually play out in the Bellator welterweight division. The main event, the fight of the weekend, the best mixed martial arts fight of the weekend, hands down. This fight delivered on so many levels. Michael Chandler, Benson Henderson. If you didn't know that Michael Chandler was going to come out like a ball of fire and go for the finish in the first round, then you've never seen the man in action. He came out, he tried to do it. He was throwing big punches. He was diving on takedowns. He was diving on his knees, swinging at Henderson. Looked like something from New Japan Pro Wrestling. I mean, this fight was crazy exciting. Now, the second round was a very close round. Benson Henderson started to implement leg kicks. Now, some people had Chandler winning this round, but when Chandler walked into the round with a fine left leg and it is turning purple and blood starting to show through the skin because he's been leg kicked so many times in the second round, I'd say on effective striking with, noticeable impact, definitely a Henderson round. So 1-1 there. In the third round, it was another big round, more aggression and winning the scrambles for Michael Chandler. He was able to man up and do the same in the fourth round. And in the fifth round, a exhausted Michael Chandler. Benson Henderson knew he had to go for a Hail Mary, knew he had to go all out, and Chandler survived. And when I tell you Michael Chandler survived, I mean he dove at a leg. He held on to a single leg for the last 45, 50 seconds of the fight while Benson Henderson was laying in elbows and body shots from atop. Obviously nothing fight ending, but Henderson with a barrage of kicks in that round. He went all out. Chandler bleeding from his right eye, bleeding from out his ear, doubled over, out of gas. Benson Henderson hyping up the crowd, jumping around. It left you thinking, could he have done more? The energy that Benson Henderson was exuding and showing after the fight, you wish he could have just done a little more and put some of that energy to work in the third and fourth rounds. That could have made all the difference in the world. In a split decision for a very disappointing Benson Henderson that, thank gosh, for the first time in he went 5 rounds with Korshakov. Then you got the 2 rounds with Patricio Pitbull Frady, and then you got the 1 first round with Chandler. It took to the second round of that third fight. I'm talking about, we're going a good almost 8 rounds into his Bellator career before we saw Benson Henderson actually go to work. Actually look comfortable, actually come to life, and actually show the guy that we saw reminiscent to of the UFC and the WEC. It was the best performance, for sure, of his Bellator career to this point, But again, I do believe the judges got it right with the decision going to Chandler, as hard as that is to say. Really a fan of Henderson there and wanted him to be able to rise to that championship plateau. I don't know if this is boxing, if it goes more rounds, and you can imagine an MMA fight going longer, if Chandler would have the cardiovascular ability, but he did what he had to do. He went 5 minute rounds, made it 25 minutes, even though he looked dead and dog-ass tired after the 4th round. He did not get stopped in the 5th round. And the champion after the fight calls out Josh Thompson. Benson Henderson probably wants to fight Josh Thompson as he wants a big fight. Georgi Katahanian recently called out Josh Thompson. He's everybody's mark now in that Bellator lightweight division because an Adam Piccolotti or a Derek Anderson, those names aren't as big, but those fighters are really scary. You also got to remember that Patricky Pitbull Friday, Derek Campos, I believe Derek Campos is right around the corner. So that lightweight division, again, anywhere in MMA that you have 155 pounders, it's usually going to be a stacked, tight, exciting, entertaining division. Bellator also making huge news last night, though, all the way on the other side of the spectrum. We're talking about the heavyweights. You've probably already heard this. February 18th, the SAP Center in San Jose, California. Again, this is Scott Croker-led. San Jose will be the forefront, the standard bearer, the home base operations of Bellator MMA. Duh, that's what I was trying to get to. And they will host their next event, again, February 18th, with the main event of Fedor Emelianenko, the last emperor, 36-4, has now signed a multi-fight deal, according to sources, with Bellator MMA. His first matchup will be with 11-5 Matt Mitrione. For Fedor, I guess this is the appropriate move. He's always liked doing business since Strikeforce with Scott Croker. They got the deal done. Bellator puts on the fun fights, the bigger stage. They had a good time working together last time. This is a big opportunity for Mitrione, who scored a TKO and a knockout, but hasn't looked overwhelmingly impressive in his time in Bellator. Has got the victories, did get hurt in each of those fights, but my first impression would have to be if Maldonado, and I don't care what you look at the records, and you see a majority decision win. In June, Maldonado beat Emelianenko, and if he was able to do that with no footwork and just taking abuse, Mitrione, with probably the best footwork, some of the best footwork that we've seen in the heavyweight division, should be able to create enough angles to be able to catch Emelianenko, who, as his career has went on, has been more susceptible to eating big shots and getting knocked out. A huge opportunity for Mitrione, who last night in the stare down, in the face-off, looked like a starstruck kid who said, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun." We know that's his personality, but you need to go into this one. All business and not a fan to be able to capitalize on it and put your name in that echelon with Antonio Silva, with Dan Henderson, with Verdum when Fedor hit that 3-fight losing streak. That helped build those guys' legacy. A big opportunity there for Mitrione. You look at Bellator after that, you say, well, where does Fedor go? Sergey Karatanov is on the roster. Javi Ayala just knocked him out. And you do have a Bobby Lashley who was more than vocal about wanting to fight Fedor. I know Shane Carwin signed with Ryzen, but I wouldn't be surprised if you can make that fight happen. A Bellator Ryzen card, still, that's a possibility. And then also, as we continue looking through, I just want to go through a couple names in my head. Did we miss anybody? Oh, Chet Congo. That was the other name on the top of my head. Chet Congo at 25-10. He's won back-to-back fights. That could be a big fight for him. What about Rampage Jackson? What about King Mo Lual? Even a Tito Ortiz, H.L. Sonnen. There is more than enough opportunity for Fedor Emelianenko to have some big fights and test himself. Obviously, make a bunch of money for Bellator and get Spike TV, some huge ratings. So I can understand with how they were able to work together, the Scott Croker and Emelianenko camp with Strikeforce. This makes sense, as there's never been a good relationship between Dana White and Emelianenko. At this point in his career also, I think this is the right place to be with these matchups. Some of them may bite him. He will take some losses, but he may get some wins. Let's see how long Fedor sticks around and continues this comeback that started with Ryzen FC back in December of 2015. So we just went through a lot. I mean, a lot with Invicta, with Bellator, with the UFC. We're going to take a quick break, and when the DC Life Uncensored returns, we're going to talk to Desmond Hill. He's going to be in action at RFA 46, the promotion's final event before the merger with Legacy. Legacy Fighting Alliance is coming in 2017. We're going to say 64. December 9th, one last RFA on Access TV. We talked to Desmond Hill to see what his thoughts are on being a part of this final event and being in the co-main event. And after RFA 46 is Desmond Hill, we're going to talk to one half of the King of the Cage Duke City 2 main event. Tim Sosa's taking on Johnny Guillen for the King of the Cage Junior Flyweight World title. And we got Tim Sosa here. It's fight week for King of the Cage. So we have Desmond Hill and Tim Sosa when we get back with the DC Life Uncensored.
We're a dental laboratory that specializes in protective mouth guards for all sports. With the input and collaboration of professional athletes, dentists, and chemical engineers, Damage Control offers protection that is up to 417% greater than the competition. And a great fit that will make you forget you're even wearing a mouth guard. UFC champions, professional bull riding champions, and Mr. Olympian champions. These are athletes that depend on us for the ultimate protection. It's the most comfortable, most protective, and best fitting mouth guard. Breathe better, feel better, play better with the Damage Control mouth guard.
The Fight Shop New Mexico in the Montano Plaza Shopping Center, located off Coors and Montano.
ISP, that's International Strategic Partners. When you think protection in New Mexico, you should think ISP, not your everyday security company, offering background checks, self-defense courses, handgun, firearm licensing, and a plethora of security patrol and investigation options. Call us at 505-255-6063. That's 505-255-6063 or online at callisp.com. Welcome back to the DC Life Uncensored. Right now we're going to go to the callisp.com hotline where we're going to find RFA 46, one half of the co-main event from Odessa, Texas. Desmond Hill, thank you for the time, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
So first off, co-main event of the final RFA event, and it's your debut with the promotion. So what's your thoughts about getting a spotlight like this?
It's good. I've been wanting to get on with the RFA and Legacy for a while now. Finally got my chance, so I'm hoping to make the best of it.
Heading into this fight, coming off a loss, you've won 4 of your last 5, though. So where's your mentality heading into this one against an undefeated prospect that a lot of people know about?
He's known pretty good in RFA. He's a good wrestler. I look to use my hands and neutralize his wrestling. But if it goes to the ground, then I'll be for that.
And then just for you, like we said, 1 4 of your last 5. So how are you feeling? Where do you feel you're at right now with your game?
I'm feeling good. I only got a short window left, so I'm making the most out of every opportunity I get. Feeling good. Training's going real well. I know everybody goes into every fight saying best shape of their lives. I'm just good. 170 is not a hard cut for me to make, and I look to come in and be pretty quick and strong at that division.
Now, at 170, we've seen you fight a lot lighter. Is this a permanent move for you right now, or is this this weight class for this fight?
It's this fight. If more opportunities like this come up at 170, then I'm definitely gonna jump on them. But 155, that's the division that I usually fight at. But fighting at 170 is not that big a deal to me. If I have to do it, I'll do it.
Now, your last fight, the loss to Desmond Green, that was in a ring. So how much different of an experience for you was that? Because I believe a lot of your experience has been going to battle in the cage.
Right. The ring, it was big difference. Felt it once he grabbed me, and I usually try to use the cage to work out of to help my wrestling. Doing that in the ring, it's a little different. It caught me off guard at first. Just something you have to get adjusted to. But it feels good to finally be back in the cage.
And exactly, does that give you a sense of relief that you do have the cage this time, and it's not going to be as awkward as the ring is?
Oh yeah. Using that cage, people don't understand. It makes a big difference. It'll help me more than it'll hurt me. In the ring, I think those are for just pure wrestlers. But in the cage, you can get by with, whatever wrestling you know.
Half of your wins come by knockout. Is this fight as simple as you have to keep it standing, you have to land your punches?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most definitely. I think if I hit him, he'll feel it, and he's automatically going to shoot. So I have to be more patient. And once I do touch him, have to set up my combinations. It's going to be a good night, I believe. I believe once I hit him and he feels it, then the whole fight will turn my way. So it's very important that I get that first hit out the way.
And that's definitely the kind of stuff we've seen. If you go to YouTube and look up your name, look up some of the highlight tapes, you hit guys and they feel it. When did you realize as you were training that you had this ability, that you had knockout power?
It's come in my first 2 or 3 amateur fights. Once I feel like back then I'll hit a guy and drop him quick. Having this extra weight at 170 is definitely going to play a factor in my punching power. I'm definitely going to be able to hit harder. I believe people have a better chance of taking my shots at 155 than they do at 170. So it's definitely going to play a factor in the fight for this one.
And so this is an added bonus to you, the lack of the weight cut, the 15 pounds, that'll add to your power?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Making 155 is very hard for me because I'm lean already. But 170, it's no problem, walk in the park. Plus, I added more weight training for this fight. So I'll definitely be ready to stuff his shots and bring it back up and, lay my hands on him.
Now, what do you expect? Where do you think this leads? You're hoping New Year and a run with what will be LFA?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. This guy's the up-and-comer. I voted newcomer or top prospect of the year for 2015 for the organization. So, beating this guy would definitely be a big win for me. Hopefully I put on a good show, and if I have to fight more at 170, I will, or get more, or if I can get fights at 155 with the organization. It's a pretty stacked division at both welterweight and lightweight for the organization, especially since they're combining. So I think I can just add my name in the hat in there and make it even more interesting.
Twice in your career now, you've had 4 fight win streaks. You've had some really good runs, getting on the radar. What do you think you have to do to get over that hump? Is this the fight people will know you then after this?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. This will be, my second nationally televised fight this year. The first one, I was more nervous for it than prepared. So I'm just excited. I know this fight will get me over the hump and hopefully get me on that UFC radar.
Now, talking about MMA as a whole, you've been, at least as an amateur, since 2010. What led you to MMA? Were you in athletics before?
Oh yeah, I played football all my life. Junior high, elementary, junior high, high school, college. After my college football was over with, I didn't have no chance of making the NFL and nothing. So I still want to stay competitive in the sport, and that's what led me to the MMA and fighting.
And then we probably should have known that, right? Isn't football a second religion in Texas?
Oh yeah, I mean I'm in the oil field capital of the country, and Delta Permian. Everybody knows that name. You've seen it in the movies. I got a chance to actually play for them. So yeah, if you're from Odessa, you're definitely putting on the black and white.
And then down there in Odessa, you train at Roughhouse MMA, right?
Yes, sir. Rough House is actually the gym that I own. Rough House MMA. We got a bunch of up and coming fighters. We got Frankie Cavazos. He's fighting December 3rd, actually a week before my fight. And I got another fighter named Gabriel Casillas. He's fighting the same night also. But we have quite a few fighters coming up out of there. Lots of amateurs right now. I'm just trying to build the MMA scene here in Odessa and in West Texas, and hopefully get more fighters up, to nationally televised fights.
So what is that like for you, and how do you do that, running a gym and concentrating on your own career at the same time?
It's very hard, running the gym and trying to train fighters at the same time. I have a lot of help. I have my boxing coaches come in. Felix Alvarez, he comes in and takes some of the pressure off of me for training fighters and new fighters to training myself. I have my jiu-jitsu coaches that I go get my jiu-jitsu with in Midland at Bastos BJJ. They're actually saying that we're in the works of getting one of their jiu-jitsu instructors to come over and teach. That'll relieve some of the stress for me, so I can focus more on training myself also. But it's a I get up for work every day, and I'm happy to go to work, so I'm not stressing about it.
So how long have you been doing this for, having your own gym?
I've been owning the gym for about 4.5 years now. The previous owner's name was he left for the oil field and moved off to Austin, and he sold me the gym, and we've been growing it ever since, and one of the best decisions I ever made.
How did that change your outlook on the sport now, moving into that role?
I don't do it for the money. I have to keep the lights on, keep the rent paid, and all that. But I do it because I like to teach people the years in my 9-10 years of training. For kids jiu-jitsu program that we're building more and more each month. I enjoy teaching the kids more than the adults. Starting from the ground up with the kids. That's probably the most enjoyable part of the business.
And then as a fighter to a businessman, and then someone that grew up in Texas where there's that big football community, what do you see it is that's giving MMA this ability now to break through and finally become so popular?
It's still a work in progress here in Odessa. I know a lot of the high school football coaches don't want their athletes doing the sport, MMA. They want to focus on football or basketball or whatever they're doing. So we're still in the process to break with all the high school coaches. I know football around here is the main focus because that's what's going to get you, scholarships, hopefully free education. MMA is not going to do that right now. So this is around here. It's more of people who's not playing football or playing other sports in school, or they just wait until they're done with their high school career to come over to MMA.
But you do see the growth happening.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I'm getting more and more people coming in each day. I just recently moved into a new location. We're right downtown Odessa, so this is this is really gonna grow not only the gym but also the sport in whole, for the city of Odessa.
Does it feel right now like you're being a pioneer, or while you're doing it, you don't acknowledge that?
I really don't look into it as that. I know there's been people here before me. I'm just trying to be the biggest I can be. I'm trying to do my part in growing the sport here in West Texas. If people look at me as a pioneer of the sport here, then hey, I appreciate that. But I'm just trying to do my part and help the sport grow.
December 9th in Missouri. What is it? What do you have to do to pull the upset and take away the thunder from the prospect?
Have to keep it standing. I have to keep it standing. I cannot go to the ground. I just got to put my hands on him. Once I put my hands on him, it's going to be a short night for him. Don't know the guy, never met the guy. Probably a pretty nice guy, but I know I don't like him right now. And he's in my way of what I'm trying to do. And if you're in the way, you're just getting ran through.
Desmond Hill, I got to thank you for the time. Can you tell all the fans how they can follow you on social media?
You can follow me on Instagram. It's Desmundo_HBH. That's DEZMUNDO_HBH. I also have a Facebook. It's under Des Hill. That's Des with a Z. You can follow me on Twitter at Honey Badger Hill. That's pretty much it.
And did you have anybody you needed to shout out to?
My sponsors, for one, Eddie Mata with Precision STEM Consulting, W74 Oil Tools. Thank you for the huge sponsorship. Authority Machining, that's Philip Didon and Gabe Didon. Thank y'all for y'all's help. Empire Pipe Inspections, Scott Parker with SJ Sports. Nutrition Bunkers, they're always taking care of me. Probably the best nutrition supplement store here in Midland, Odessa area. Carrillo's Carpet, Grant Street Bar and Grill, best margaritas in Odessa, and Eden Ultra Lounge, your only after hour spot in Odessa. Thank them.
If you can't be there live, Access TV, RFA 46, the last event before we see LFA come together. Des Hill, again, thank you for the time so much, sir. And there'll be more DC Life Uncensored in just a moment. ISP, that's International Strategic Partners. When you think protection in New Mexico, you should think ISP, not your everyday security company, offering background checks, self-defense courses, handgun, firearm licensing, and a plethora of security, patrol, and investigation options. Call us at 505-255-6063. That's 505-255-6063, or online at callisp.com.
The Fight Shop New Mexico in the Montano Plaza Shopping Center, located off Coors and Montano.
Since its inception, Damage Control has been on a mission to produce the most comfortable, most protective, and best-fitting mouthguard. Many athletes don't wear mouthguards because they are bulky, uncomfortable, and it makes it hard to breathe. Damage Control is revolutionizing the industry by placing an emphasis not only on protection, but also on great fit and comfortability. With the input and collaboration of professional athletes, dentists, chemical engineers, Damage Control offers protection that is up to 417% greater than the competition, and a great fit that will make you forget you're even wearing a mouthguard. Breathe better, feel better, play better with a Damage Control mouthguard.
Welcome back to the DC Life Uncensored. Right now, we're going to turn our attentions to King of the Cage Duke City 2, and thanks to Damage Control, we're going to get to talk with Tim Sosa, one half of the main event. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Stoked for after Thanksgiving we get to see a great night of fights. You're in the main event getting a title fight. How are you and how excited are you about the opportunity?
I'm good, but as far as excited goes, it's just another fight to me.
you'll never like hear me make something out to be more than what it is.
Is there a difference in this fight, though, and at least the training lead-up, because of the potential of the 2 extra rounds?
Not really. I mean, we are planning for 5 rounds this time, but I'm in shape to go 5 rounds every fight I've ever been in. So, it's just a matter of, like, pushing things to the next level, I guess.
And then also, now coming back down 125, you've been picking up a lot of fights, jumping around weight classes. How nice is it to come back to your weight class?
There's always pros and cons. Cons, definitely, I got to cut weight. But pros, definitely, I feel more energetic. I like being lighter because I feel like a lot more active and like a lot quicker. And always nice to deal with smaller guys, so that's a pro.
And then your last fight, you took a short notice fight. I believe you went up to Minnesota, and you won one under the King of the Cage banner at 160 pounds. Is that correct?
That is not correct. I went to at 160 pounds.
Say that one more time.
I said that is not correct. I went to want to fight and 60 pounds.
Yeah, 160. How did you have to eat more food to make weight for that?
Technically, I wasn't on weight, like weighing, like completely hydrated and fed. Like I didn't like gorge myself. Like I still ate healthy, but just full meals all day. Like with shoes and clothes on, I weighed 151. So it was enough to like make the fight legit.
Did the guy in front of you look like molasses then with how he was moving?
The guy was kind of a scrub. I was kind of a fill-in, to be honest, so that's the only reason why we ended up with the fight. But, he weighed in his underwear in 161, so he was a lot bigger than me, and, I was kind of like, a little bit not freaked out by him. I was like, more, I don't know, maybe puzzled that he looked so afraid of me. Couldn't tell you, like, this guy was genuinely looked like afraid of me, and that was like the thing that like had me thinking about the most. I was like, what the heck is going on, But yeah, so things went my way and got in, got out, and got paid.
Is it nice also? I believe it was a first round stoppage.
Yeah, first round TKO.
And how nice are those? Because I knew it had been back 2015 since you had one of those quick nights.
It's always nice, but got to keep things in perspective. It's nice to do that, and especially at such a crazy weight class. But got to keep things in perspective. He wasn't exactly like the top-notch competition, so happy to get the win. But didn't let it inflate my ego or blow up my head any bit.
Under 135, you've been tearing it up, but there's been 2 setbacks at 135 recently. What have you taken away and learned from those fights?
It's nothing to do with weight, really. It's just stuff like the first guy I fought was like a D1 wrestler who was like 8-1 or something. So he's a top prospect, and really all I had to, it was a different style of wrestling than I had encountered, and I just, need to be, I can't just be so, I guess, relaxed sometimes. Sometimes I need to hit the gas and go. The second fight, the second fight, I got hosed on a split, I definitely thought I pulled it out. Like there was no doubt in my mind. And if you were there, the guy knew I won too because he was ready to cry before they read the decision. So, nice to always, I guess the real lesson for that fight is don't try and cut like 11 pounds in like 12 hours. So that's a lesson I took from that fight.
What are your thoughts and feelings towards judges and commissions by this point in your career?
Uh, you never think it can happen to you, and then it happened to me. It happened to me twice. So one was far more of a, I don't know,
You can
robbery.
curse if you need to.
One was far more of a just ridiculous than the other. The other one, bad decisions happened, but the other one was just complete. And I don't know, in El Paso, it was just like I was a victim of just dumbasses. I don't know how else to put it.
Now, from those fights, you're coming back home. Is it more of a hassle? Now you got to sell tickets. We see you on your social media, proactive as all hell. You're out there pushing the event. But is this just like another added-on thing that you have to do while you're worrying about a fight camp?
Definitely. As the last fight, I think I became of the fight in March. I think I became the #1 ticket seller for King of the Cage in the Southwest region. And I don't sell tickets off popularity. I sell it off hard work. Like the Brenda, who's on the undercard, is a by far more popular fighter than I am. It's just that the way I do it, I get out there and I sell and I move tickets, and it's like taking on like 2 more full-time jobs. Like you wouldn't believe the amount of work I have to do to sell these tickets. So it's nice fighting in front of home. Everything I have is here. I know where everything needs. Where everything I need, I know where I can get it. Or there's no surprises. But selling tickets is definitely doesn't make things easier for me.
Now, standing across from you on November 26th is going to be Johnny Guillen. I know you've seen him in action before. It was not an MMA fight, but what do you think of him? A pretty tough guy.
You said it. I don't really have any other feeling towards him. I don't really know much about him other than that he's incredibly tough. All I know is that I watched him fight a top prospect boxer who I think was told was like 7-0 with 7 knockouts, and Johnny went to a decision with him. So that just says how incredibly tough he is. Other than that, I don't have anything to say about him. I don't know anything about him.
Is it easy enough to look? You saw him in a boxing ring. You know he has toughness, and you figure he has hands because as I look at his record, he's been, I believe, in about 11 boxing fights, and this is going to be his 5th MMA bout. So would that be just like a reference point for you?
Yeah, you always got to look at an opponent's strong points and prepare for them and prepare to deal with them and prepare to work around him. So I fought like a good boxer before, Alan Lerma. I don't know what his boxing pedigree is, but he had heavy hands, and it's no problem for me. Not saying that Johnny's hands aren't gonna be a problem for me, but I'm ready to deal with them. So.
Now this year you've been able to stay more active than it seems like the years before. Has that been at least something on the positive side for you? This year is your most active year so far as a pro.
I've wanted to stay active all these years. It's just, I don't know, the opportunity wasn't there. I didn't have the greatest luck. Just all these factors, and even after my last fight in March, I was training this entire time, completely healthy, and I wasn't getting a fight. I wasn't getting any fights, and I was like depressed. It sucked. And then now, like, and then now all of a sudden, Tom, I think they asked me, like, you want to fight? And I don't even remember where I fought. Oh, Pennsylvania. They're like, you want to fight in Pennsylvania next Saturday? And then I was like, hell yeah. I was like, and he couldn't wipe the smile off my face. So, and it's been that way ever since, so I'm loving it.
Right, because you had a Pennsylvania fight. you fought a month later, and then you fought a week later, and now you're getting a whole whopping month to prepare for this one, it seems like.
I mean, I've known about it. But I just so happens I got some fights before that, and like I wasn't gonna turn those down because, like, cool. It's nice to get a belt, nice to have something to show, but like the ultimate goal is, I'm a fighter. I'm not like one of these guys who just want to sit around. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And looking at the title, do you see that as something that's going to lock you into this division and possibly slow you down, or it's just another accessory? You're open to take fights again, hopefully as quick as possible.
You know what? Like, first of all, it's like kind of cool because I think, I'm not sure, I may become the first person in King of the Cage history to hold the amateur and the professional belt. So that's kind of cool. But again, I'm not sure. I know I was the first amateur 125-pound champ in King of the Cage history, so that was always cool. But that was always like kind of I never turned down any of the title fights I was offered. They just didn't materialize due to one reason or another. But that's always been in the back of my mind. Like I don't want to get the belt and just have to wait around, for someone, or like, I can only take these title fights. That's just, my thinking. But I don't know. I don't know the terms, and I don't know how free or locked up I am. That's just, my thinking and what I hope.
From being that first amateur 125 champion, how much had it been a goal of yours to capture that pro 125 title?
It was probably a lot more of a goal for me as an amateur because like I wanted something to show for all that hard work and stuff. And now there's I have there's nothing wrong or like pretty cool to win a pro belt, especially for King of the Cage. But the ultimate goal is always the bigger stage, but it'd be cool to grab some hardware on the way to that. I have no problem stopping and smelling the roses.
For you, when we're talking about the big stage, is that still for a fighter in your position? Is it UFC or bust, or has the landscape changed with, as we've seen, fighters leaving, moving around in free agency? Also, everything's been getting bigger with one championship in Ryzen over in Asia. So, is it still the UFC, or are there several options now on the table that you would consider the big stage?
Well, I'll fight in any of those organizations in a heartbeat, but ultimate goal is still the UFC. That'd be cool. But anything else comes along, I'm not gonna say no. Those are all cool. Those are all great opportunities that would help propel me to that.
And then with it being a global sport, is there anywhere, not promotion, but any country or place that you've circled as a destination you'd love to be able to fight in?
I'd always love to fight in Japan. I think that's every young mixed martial artist's dream. That's just kind of where everything started. One of the meccas for MMA. But to be honest, I don't know, man. Like I got this like fear of being on a plane and it goes down over an ocean, which is one of those weird fears. I feel like that everyone has their own weird fear, and that's like mine. And I don't know how. I'm not looking forward to that plane ride too much. So.
He's like, I'd like to leave the country, but I'm gonna start with Canada and Mexico.
like if I could drive to Japan, you know what I mean? That'd be cool with me. But I don't know about that flight.
Can you just put me on the boat?
Yeah. Even a boat, man. I've been on cruises, and it, still not the most relaxed person unless I'm, partying it up. But then can't be doing that on a fight trip.
And as you're partying it up, we know, I heard something that there may be a project in the making, documenting your weight cut coming up for this fight.
Oh, you know what? I don't even know his last name. There's this photojournalism student named Ryan. He hit me up on Twitter, and he's looking to document my weight cut for his class. And I think he's going to get with me more during fight week. So starting probably around Sunday. I don't know. I got to talk to him some more. But it sounds, I don't know the details or specifics, but I think there will be, some at least coverage on my weight cut for this fight.
So are we going to get as raw and as intense as it looked like when Cyborg was dying in a bathroom with 90 towels and like 5 dudes around her?
No, we're going to get more intense. That's how I like it.
Oh, wow. Tim Sosa, King of the Cage, Duke City 2, November 26th. Is it going to be a Thanksgiving dinner that night for you after the fight?
I think, I'm not even a big gamer, man, but I think Call of Duty's in my future after the fight that night.
That's been what you've been missing most this camp?
I was just looking forward to staying inside and doing nothing after all this hard work, you know what I mean?
Definitely you will have earned some R&R after a big main event fight. Tim Sosa, who'd you need a shout out to?
I just want to say first, and I just want to send a shout out and a thank you to my sponsors, Chris and Carissa Grigsby at Champion Cryotherapy, Dave Kramer at Jerky by Art, Delano Romero at Damage Control Mouthguards, and I just want to thank Mika for having me. It's always a pleasure. And my teammates and my coaches down at Fit and HB. Thank you guys so much.
And we'll see everybody down at the Embassy Suites this weekend for King of the Cage, Duke City 2. There'll be more
Hit me up for tickets, motherfuckers.
There'll be more DC Life Uncensored in just a moment.
The Fight Shop New Mexico in the Montano Plaza Shopping Center, located off Coors and Montano.
ISP, that's International Strategic Partners. When you think protection in New Mexico, you should think ISP, not your everyday security company, offering background checks, self-defense courses, handgun, firearm licensing, and a plethora of security patrol and investigation options. Call us at 505-255-6063. That's 505-255-6063, or online at callisp.com.
We're a dental laboratory that specializes in protective mouth guards for all sports. With the input and collaboration of professional athletes, dentists, and chemical engineers, Damage Control offers protection that is up to 417% greater than the competition, and a great fit that will make you forget you're even wearing a mouth guard. UFC champions, professional bull riding champions, and Mr. Olympian champions. These are athletes that depend on us for the ultimate protection. It's the most comfortable, most protective, and best fitting mouth guard. Breathe better, feel better, play better with the Damage Control mouth guard.
Welcome back to the DC Life Uncensored, presented by the Fight Shop New Mexico, International Strategic Partners, and Damage Control. Right now, it's time to get local, dive into the CageMinds.com local scene, as it is fight week for King of the Cage, Duke City 2, Embassy Suites, the main event, Tim Sosa versus Johnny Guillen. The King of the Cage Junior Flyweight title on the line. Guillen, tons of professional boxing experience. You have to watch out for his striking. Sosa been in this mixed martial arts game for a very long time. Underrated on the ground game. Very good at his striking. Wouldn't consider him to be an overwhelmingly powerful striker, but is a very good technical guy with a very high rate of output. We saw him be able to stay tight and technical in a fight like Jimmy Flick. Guillen, he has had problems going to the ground before. An interesting dance right there. The co-main event, Anthony Rosema and Randy McCarty, is going to be a barn burner, a banger, a slobber knocker, if you would. It's going to be a very entertaining, striking bout. I'm almost going to be disappointed if someone's shooting for a takedown. These two guys are going to meet in the middle, kickbox, strike, try to walk each other down and make each other uncomfortable, and look for the fight-ending shots. We also have an exciting women's bout on the card where you're going to see Yumi Mashimoto taking on Brenda Gonzalez-Means. Gonzalez-Means, the former King of the Cage and Sugar Creek Showdown champion, 125 in King of the Cage, 135 in Sugar Creek Showdown. We've seen her in the boxing ring. A ton of well-rounded skills there to be displayed. Her opponent, Mashimoto, I don't know much about her. She's coming off of a loss to Jamie Milanowski, who was coming off of a loss, or I think after that, lost here to Nika Montoya fighting for the King of the Cage flyweight title, which is their 135 title. She's also been in the cage with a Megumi Fujii, so she was in there with the greatest female mixed martial artist Japan had ever produced. Mashimoto coming over from California. Hopefully she comes to bring a fight. Now on the amateur side of the card, I can tell you that names like Chris Brown, Nate Gomez versus Joey Trevino, and the always exciting Judgment MMA amateur kickboxing champion making his amateur MMA debut, Eduardo Silva, they will all be involved in the card. I'm looking forward to an exciting night, Saturday night, King of the Cage at the Embassy Suites. If you have the opportunity, I implore you to make it on out. Come support the local scene. Now, the following weekend, gotta remind you that there's the Jackson's MMA Series 20 at the Buffalo Thunder Resort and Casino. Sonny Yon, Josh Moreno in the main event. Josh Wick, Angelo Sanchez in the co-main event. Cody Yon, Brandon Jones also on that main card. Tegan Ring, Andrea Amoro on the amateur card. Two explosive young female strikers. Chris Rojas, Mark Matthew McDill in the amateur bantamweight bout is one that I'm really looking forward to. Cole Griego, Dominic Yara, Seth Abate, Danny Diaz, bunch of interesting fights. Brian Linares, Ambrose Vigil, Jackson's MMA Series 20 at the Buffalo Thunder Resort Casino. A very nicely put together pro and amateur card. But the same night, if you're a fan of the boxing, of the sweet science, then I implore you to stop a little bit further down the road or a little bit sooner than you would if you're going to Buffalo Thunder. We're talking about Legacy Boxing, New Mexico's top contenders at the Camel Rock Casino, with a very entertaining main event where you have Espanoola's own Tony the Warrior Valdez, 8-5-6, taking on undefeated from Las Cruces, Agustin Benegas, a very fast, elusive fighter. You're going to see Valdez have to cover his angles, put the pressure on, and land the big punches. Also confirmed for the card, you will see the return to the ring after over 3 years away of Joaquin Zamora. You will see the return to the ring of after 3 years of Joaquin Zamora as he takes on Javier Castro. You also have signed and on the way Jesus Pacheco versus Gene Perez, Jose Luis Sanchez versus Tavares Teague, and Christian Castillo versus Angel Avila. So there is a stat card of boxing and MMA the same night. We're talking December 3rd. Either be at Camel Rock or at Buffalo Thunder for a great night of action. On a couple local other notes from this past weekend, Latrell Yee MMA Steven Cervantes used his wrestling and his grappling ability to get back in the win column at GKO 8, defeating Edward Thomas with a unanimous decision, ending a 2-fight skid. Jackson Wink fighter Clayton Flores wins at WFF 32 with a 54-second first round knockout. At CCF, Charlie Williams, a fit NHB, captured that promotion's featherweight title with a first round submission by guillotine choke. And at Force of One Warriors Way, we can report that Clovis's own Omar Costa and Harvey Park walked away victorious in both of the professional bouts. On the local boxing front, it's been announced that the Atrisco Kid, Fidel Maldonado Jr., will be back in action December 16th, taking on 25-0 undefeated Antonio Orozco. I'm probably pretty sure I murdered his name. Maldonado has 19 victories by knockout and has won 3 of his last 4 fights with 3 wins by knockout. The 29-year-old Orozco of San Diego, California, has won 5 of his last 6 fights by decision, but did have a 7-fight run of knockouts. This fight is for a vacant WBC lightweight silver title, I believe, and that is going to take place at the Fantasy Springs Casino in Indio, California, part of an HBO Latino card as a triple main event. There's a lot of great interviews, including when we caught up with last week Devin Clark up at CageMinds.com. Devin Clark going to be in action December 3rd at the Tough 24 finale in Las Vegas, the UFC event. Get over to CageMinds.com. We got a ton of great stuff. And also, keep checking for the DC Life Uncensored on YouTube and SoundCloud, as after this episode, we will be working on some special editions talking to the guys from New Mexico's top contenders and from Jackson's MMA Series 20. So one more time, again, thank you to Tim Sosa and to Desmond Hill for your time and those wonderful interviews, gentlemen. Everybody come on out into the Embassy Suites this weekend and enjoy King of the Cage, Duke City 2. I'm sure Friday at 3, the weigh-ins will be at Sadie's on 4th Street as they normally are. This has been the DC Life Uncensored. Thank you for listening.